correct?
Today we are doing Dalet Vav.
Why do I have Dal Gimel?
Yeah, that was yesterday. We see you haven't.
Oh yeah, I did. Okay. The wood festival of the Kohanim and the people was celebrated 9 times a year. On the first of,
We're on Vav.
you don't like hay? Okay.
No, it's too long.
Yeah. 5 incidents befell our ancestors on the 17th of Tammuz, and 5 on the 9th of Av. On the 17th of Tammuz, the tablets were broken. The continual daily sacrifice was discontinued. The city wall was breached. Apostomus burned the Torah and placed an image in the sanctuary. On the 9th of Av, it was decreed upon our ancestors that they would not enter the land. The temple was destroyed for the first time, and the second time the Beit Torah was conquered and the city was plowed under. Therefore, when Av begins, we curtail joy. During the week of Tisha B'Av, it is forbidden to cut hair or launder clothes. However, on Thursday, it is permitted because of the honor due the Sabbath. On the afternoon before Tisha B'Av, a person may not eat 2 cooked foods, nor may one eat meat or drink wine. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says he need merely make some variants. Rabbi Yehuda requires overturning the beds, but the Chachamim did not agree with him. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said Israel had no days as festive as the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur, for on those days the maidens of Jerusalem would go out dressed in white, borrowed garments, in order not to embarrass one who had none. All the garments worn on those occasions require immersion. And the maidens of Jerusalem would go out and dance in the vineyards. And what would they say? Young man, lift up your eyes and see what you choose for yourself. Do not consider beauty, consider family. Grace is false and beauty is vain. A woman who fears Hashem shall now be praised. And it is stated, give her the fruits of her own hands, and let her praise be in the gates by her own deeds. Similarly, it says, go forth and gaze, O daughters of Zion, upon King Shlomo, and adorned with the crown his nation made him on the day of his wedding and on the day of his heart's gladness. On the day of his wedding, this is the giving of the Torah. And on this day of his heart's gladness, this is the bebuilding of the holy temple. May it be built speedily in our days.
Amen.
That's the Eshes Kyle, the beginning of this.
Correct. That's correct. Eshes Kyle. Okay, and isn't it wonderful? It's Shushan Purim Katan,
yes.
And we get to start Maseches Megilla.
Are the yeshiva students celebrating Shushan Purim in Yerushalayim today?
Yeah. All right, and straight into the topic in Yana Diyama. Megillah Nikres B'Achadasar. The Megillah can be read on the 11th of Adar, B'Shnei Masar, or the 12th, B'Shlosh Asar, or the 13th, Arba Asar on the 14th, or B'Chamisha Asar on the 15th. So all of these are possibilities of when you might be able to read the Megillah. Lo Pachas v'lo Yoser, not earlier and not later than any of these dates, anywhere between the 11th and the 15th. Krachin Hamukafin Choma Mimos Yeshua ben Nun. So the cities that were surrounded by a wall since the time of Yeshua ben Nun, those ones, Korin b'Chamisha Asar, we read on the 15th. Now that's stated explicitly in the Megillah that the walled cities follow the example of Shushan because they fought an extra day in order to be free of their oppressors, and they only got to rest on the 15th of the month. That applied specifically to Shushan. But the thing is that what they didn't want to do was to offend Yerushalayim. You know, how can Yerushalayim be treated as a sort of a lesser category than Shushan in Persia? And so they said, okay, so we want to include Yerushalayim as well, but Yerushalayim at the time was not a walled city; it had been totally destroyed. So they had to go back to, okay, when was Yerushalayim a walled city? So that's back, and they fixed it at the time of Yeshua ben Nun, and so they said, okay, anything that was a walled city at the time of Yeshua ben Nun, that follows the din of the Mukafim. Okay. Kfarim v'ayeros gedolos, the villages and large cities which don't have a wall, Korin v'arba asar, so that's the regular Purim. Ela shakfarim makdimin liyom haknisa, but the villages which don't have so many people or people who are expert enough to read the Megillah, they bring the they bring the reading forward to the Yom HaKnisa, which is the market day, basically. Right. So they used to have market day every Monday and Thursday. And this was when there was a large gathering inside the town, and that was an opportune time for all the people who, like the farmers, whoever want to come together and hear Megillah. Right, Sad. Okay, so how did this all work together? Chalios Yom Arba Asar B'Sheni. So if the 14th fell on a Monday, so then everyone reads on the Monday, and of course the walled cities read the next day. So what happens if the 14th falls on Tuesday or Wednesday? Then all of the villagers bring it forward to the Monday, which is either the 13th or the 12th. And of course the large cities and the walled cities read on their regular day. So if it falls on Thursday, then everyone reads on that day. Okay, in the and the walled cities on the Friday. Erev Shabbos. What happens if the 14th falls on Friday? Then everyone then the small towns do it on the Thursday, the 13th. And the cities and the walled towns read on the Friday, because we don't want to read Megillah on the Shabbos. Somebody's going to carry it into the Rosh Hashanah. Chalios b'Shabbos. What happens if the 14th falls on Shabbos? Of course, this only happens in the time when we've Eidos HaChodesh, and then we don't have this fixed calendar that we have now. So then all of the villages and the large cities, they all bring it earlier to the Thursday. And the walled cities then read it on the Friday. Oh no, sorry, no, they read it on the Sunday. The Machar is on the Sunday, because that is the correct day for them. It is the 15th. Now, what happens if the 14th falls on a Sunday? So then the small towns have to bring it forward to the Thursday before, which is how it comes out to be the 11th. Okay, but and then the cities and the walled cities read it on the 14th and 15th respectively. Okay, all clear? Okay. So what is considered an Ir Gedolah where they read always on the 14th if they can? Anything that's got 10 batlanim. So what is batlanim? Kati explains the people who are batal memalacha, and people who don't have to do any work, and they're sitting in the basic knesses. In other words, kol elaboration. Okay, so they're sitting, so they're permanently in the town. So if you've got enough people to have a little kollel of 10 people, that's considered a big city, and they will always read on 14th. Pachos mikan, if there are fewer people, hareze kfar, then it's called the kfar, and they'll bring it to market day. Be'elu amru makdimin v'lo ma'achrin. In all these cases here, we bring it earlier, not later. So when you're unable to read the Megillah on the day in which it's supposed to be read, then you bring it earlier. Okay. Aval zman atse kohanim, if it's the wood for the kohanim, or Tisha B'Av, or Chagiga, or Hakel, if all of these things fall on a Shabbos or it's on some day when they can't bring it, ma'achrin v'lo makdimin, then you delay it rather than bringing it forward.
Right, because this says as regards these times, they said to advance rather than postpone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's for the Megillah. The Megillah you advance. That's a simcha. But for fast days, if a fast day falls on a Shabbos, then you push it onto the Sunday.
Right.
You bring it backwards. Also, if the zman of the mitzvah hasn't yet fallen, like with the Atzei Kohanim, if the zman of the mitzvah hasn't yet come, so that they push it later. Also, I mean the same will go for a bris milah. If a bris milah is a safek, for example, so somebody's born bein hashmashos on Shabbos, so they can't do the milah on Shabbos because you can't be mechalel Shabbos for a safek.
Right.
So then you don't bring it forward because it's not the zman of the mitzvah. You have to push it back. You have to push it later. Okay. So even though in general we advance the reading rather than pushing it back, you're nonetheless allowed to give eulogies and to fast on these earlier days. So the 11th, 12th, and 13th of Adar, even though those are days in which the Megillah is read in the small towns, and nonetheless, there's no issur of making hespedim or fasts, and matanas le'evyonim may be given early as well. And it's still considered fulfilling the mitzvah. Amar Rabbi Yehuda emasai. When is this so? Okay, again, whenever Rabbi Yehuda says this, he's not arguing. He's qualifying. He's adding to what the previous Tana said. Makom shenichnasim b'sheni v'chameshi. That's only talking about in a place where they make the marketplace on a Monday or a Thursday. So if you don't have a market day, and people aren't normally coming together on Mondays and Thursdays for commercial reasons, then there's absolutely no reason why you should change the date of the Megillah reading. If it's just like some little town where people are working from home and by Zoom, and you don't push things forward to Monday or Thursday. You just do it on the correct day, because it's that's just the correct thing to do. Okay, back to Tanis Beis Daled.
After the first, he says, "He who answered Abraham on Mount Moriah, he shall answer you and hearken to the sound of your cry this day. Blessed are you, Hashem, who redeems Israel." After the second, he says, he who answered your forefathers at the Sea of Reeds, he shall answer you and hearken to the sound of your cry this day. Blessed are you, Hashem, who remembers the forgotten. After the third, he says, he who answered Yeshua in Gilgal, he shall answer you and hearken to the sound of your cry this day. Blessed are you, Hashem, who hearkens to the sounding of the shofar. After the fourth, he says, he who answers Samuel in Mizpah, Shmuel in Mizpah, he shall answer you and hearken to the sound of your cry this day. After the fifth, he says, who answered Eliyahu on Mount Carmel, he shall answer you and hearken to the sound of your cry this day. Blessed are you, Hashem, who hearkens to the prayer. And after the sixth, he says, he who answered Jonah from the fish's belly, he shall answer you and hearken to the sound of your cry this day. Blessed are you, Hashem, who answers in time of distress. And after the seventh, he says, he who answered David and his son Shlomo in Yerushalayim, he shall answer you and hearken to the sound of your cry this day. Blessed are you, Hashem, who has mercy on the land. It happened in the days of Kalifta and Reb Chanina ben Tradon that one went before the ark and completed the entire blessing, but they did not respond amen after the blessing. Sound the tekiah, O Kohanim, sound the tekiah. He who answered our father Abraham on Mount Moriah, he shall answer you and hearken to the sound of your cry this day. Sound the teruah, O sons of Aaron, sound the teruah. He who answered our forefathers at the Red Sea, he shall answer you and hearken to the sound of your cry this day. When the matter came before the Chachamim, they said, such it was not our custom except at the eastern gate and on the Temple Mount. On the first 3 days, the Kohanim of the Mishmar fast, but do not complete their fast. The Kohanim of the Bezdin do not fast at all. And the second
the Beis Av, not the Beis Din.
But that's what I say. The Kohanim of the Beis Av do not fast at all. In the second 3 fast days, the Kohanim of the Mishmar fast to complete their fast. The Kohanim of the Beis Av fast, but do not complete their fast. And on the last 7 fast days, both groups fast to complete their fast. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua. But the Chachamim say on the first 3 fast days, neither group fast at all. On the second 3 fast days, the Kohanim of the Mishmar fast, but do not complete their fast. And the Kohanim of the Beis Av do not fast at all. And on the last 7 fast days, the Kohanim of the Mishmar fast to complete their fast, and the Kohanim of the Beis Av fast and do not complete their fast. The Kohanim of the
Okay, Sukkah, hey, Vav.
As it was performed on weekdays, so it was performed on Shabbos, except that they would gather them on the fast of Sabbath. And did I do the wrong one?
Yeah, we're on Hey Vav.
Hey Vav. And over here. I'm turning the wrong way again.
You're in Sukkah, right?
Right. No, I just turned the page the wrong way. Okay. On the first jumptive day of the festival, they were offered 13 bullocks, 2 rams, and 1 he-goat. There were 14 lambs left over for the 8 mishmarot. And on the first day, the 6 marot would bring 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the second day, 5 brought 2 each, and the remaining mishmarot 1 each. On the third day, 4 would bring 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the fourth day, they would offer 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the fifth day, they would bring 2, and the rest 1 each. On the sixth day, they would offer 2, and the rest 1 each. On the seventh day, all were equal. On the eighth, they reverted to casting of lots as the pilgrim festivals. They said, whoever brought bullocks today shall not bring tomorrow, and they would make their turns in rotation. Okay, Zion. At 3 periods of the year, all the mishmarot were equal, of all the specified festival offerings, and in the distribution of the showbread. On Atzeret, they would say to him, here is matzah for you, and here is chametz for you. The mishmar, whose turn was fixed, offered the daily sacrifices, without offering a fieldwork offerings and remaining public offerings. When a festival occurred next to the Sabbath, either before or after, all the mishmarot shared equally in the distribution of the showbread. If one day intervened between them, the mishmar, whose fixed turn it was, would take 10 loaves, and those remaining behind would take 2 loaves. On the remaining 6 days of the year, the entering would take 6, and the mishmar would take 6. The Rebbe Yehuda says the entering would take 7, and the leaving would take 5. Those entering divided the north, and those leaving in the south. And then leaving in the south. Bilga was always divided in the south, and their ring was fixed, and their alcove was closed up. We're going on to. That's what I thought. It's right here. Okay.
Okay. Erevin, test base.
So, bookmark in here. Okay. Then, okay. I have, sorry, I made a mistake. You have test Aleph? Test
base.
Base. If a large roof is adjacent to a small one, the large one is permitted, but the small one is prohibited. If a large courtyard was breached into a small one, the large one is permitted, and the small one is prohibited because it is like the entrance to the large one. If a courtyard was breached into a public domain, one who brings from there into a private domain or from a private domain into it is liable. This is Rebbe Eliezer. The comments say from it into the public domain, and from the public domain into it, it is not liable because it is like a carmelis. If a courtyard was breached into a public domain on 2 of its sides, or if a house was breached on 2 of its sides on the alley whose crossbeams or poles were removed, they are permitted on the Sabbath, but permitted on Sabbath, prohibited in the future. These are the words of Rebbe Yehuda. Rebbe Yossi says if they are permitted on that Sabbath, they are permitted in the future. But if they're prohibited in the future, they are prohibited on the Sabbath. A secondary story built around 2 houses, or bridges under which a road passes, one may carry beneath them on Shabbos. These are the words of Rebbe Yehuda, the sages prohibit. Rebbe Yehuda also says we may make an error for an open alley, but the Kachamim prohibit. Okay.
Okay, Demai Vav Gimel.
Oh, I'm sorry, someone's at my door. I have to open it up. I'll be right there. Okay. I'm sorry. We leave off. I said.
Okay, we're in Demai Vav Gimel.
Right. A priest or a Levite who leased from an Israelite, just as they share the chulin, so they share the truma. But Eliezer says the maserot also belonged to them, but they came on that condition. If an Israelite leased from a priest or from a Levite, the maserot belonged to the landowner. Rabbi Mishael says if a provincial lease from a Jerusalemite, the Masa Sheni belongs to the Jerusalemite, but the sages say the provincial can go up and eat in Jerusalem. If one leases olive trees for oil, just as they share the chulin, they also share the truma. Rabbi Yehuda says if an Israelite leases from a priest or from a Levite olive trees for oil to share half the proceeds, the maserite belongs to the owners. Okay.
Caleb, Yod Aleph.
No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. Why am I going the wrong way? This is the other one. You said Yud Aleph, right?
I said Yud Aleph. Yes.
Yeah. Why is? Boy, I put the whole thing in the wrong place. Caleb.
Yes, Caleb.
Why? Why did I do that? All right. The following utensils protect with a sealed cover: dung utensils, stone utensils, glazed utensils, earthenware utensils, nested utensils, bones of a fish or its skin, bones of a sea creature or its skin, wooden utensils that are tahor. They protect both from their mouth and from their sides, and whether they are resting on their bases or tilted on the sides. If they were turned over upon their mouth, they protect all that is beneath them down to the depths. And then Eliezer Tame. These utensils protect all things except for an earthenware utensil, which only protects foodstuff and earthenware utensils.
Right, and remember the reason why earthenware utensils don't protect the metal utensils that are inside them was a gzera of Beis Shammai that Beis Hillel subsequently accepted because we didn't trust the Amei Haaretz about the Tumas Shiva. Remember they weren't because we're always happy to borrow things from an Am Haaretz that we can just take to mikveh. We'd never borrow klei cheres or take food from an Am Haaretz because it might be tamei. But the metal kelim could be tahor. Now, if the Am Haaretz that isn't careful about the tuma and tara of the kli, and he says and he has metal kelim inside it, and that goes into an ohel, and he thinks, oh, it's protected, but because the kli itself is tamei, it doesn't protect the metal kelim. So meanwhile, the chaver comes and borrows the metal kelim from the Am Haaretz, says, listen, have these been in an ohel mace?
Right.
And the Am Haaretz says, nah, it's fine. It's been in he thinks to himself, it's been inside a tzamid pasil, so it's okay. So the chaver just goes and dunks it, and the mikveh takes it out and says, okay, it's tahor, but it's not really because it actually did become tamei mace. Okay, so let's carry on.
With what might we surround the utensils? With plaster or with gypsum, with pitch or with wax, or with mud or with excrement, with mortar or with crushed shards, or with any substance that can be moved smooth. We may not surround the utensil with tin or with lead, since they cover but do not seal. We may not surround the utensil with a fat pressed fig or with a dough kneaded with fruit juice, so that it does not come to be disqualified. But if one did surround with food, it has protected the utensil. Regarding the stoppers of a barrel that is loose but does not fall off, Rabbi Yehuda says it protects, but the sages do not. It does not say it does not protect. If its finger hold is sunk into the barrel, when a sheretz is inside it, the barrel is tamei. When a sheretz is in the barrel, the food inside the finger hole is tamei. Okay. I have test base.
Yep.
If he left sons, daughters, and a tumtum when there is much property, the males can relegate to him to the females. If there is little property, the females relegate to him to the males. One who says, if my wife bears a male child, let him take 100 zuzim. If she bore a male, he takes 100 zuzim. If a female, let her take 200 zuzim, and if she bore a female, she takes 200 zuzim. If he said, if a male 100, if a female 200. She bore a male and a female. The male takes 100, the female takes 200. If she bore a tumtum, he does not take anything. If he said, whatever my wife bears, let him take, he takes, and there is no other heir but him, he inherits everything. But before he said, okay, I got it. All right. Okay. Next. If he left sons who were of age as well as minors, if those of age improve the properties, they improve them for the common estate. If they said, see what our father left us, we shall labor and eat for ourselves, they have improved them for themselves. Similarly, a wife who improved the properties improved them for common state. If she said, see what my husband left me, I shall labor and eat for myself, and she has approved them for herself. If brothers were partners and one of them happened into a profession, it belongs to the common state. If he fell in and was healed, he is healed from his own money. Brothers, some of whom gave groomsmen gifts during their father's lifetime, when the groomsmen's gifts are returned, they return to the common estate. For groomsmen's gifts are collectible in court. However, if one said to another, jars of wine or oil, they're not collectible in court because they were given of acts of kindness.
Okay.
All right, good. Okay.
Okay.
What day do you plan to go to Tel Aviv next?
Next week sometime. I'm not sure exactly when. I shall clarify that.
And they close on Friday, of course. They close on Friday when there's.
They also close on Monday, on Sunday at least. They don't, because Sunday.
Also.
Yeah, and they only open between 9 and 11.
They don't make it easy, do they? The only time
they're not there to make things easy for you.
when my mother-in-law, when she passed away.